Wow, I can't believe we're already ready to start putting our Afghan together. And I can't think of a nicer thing to do on an afternoon except lay out the Afghan on my picnic table. Because this is a scrap Afghan, I want to make sure that all the pieces are in the place where I want them. And then I'm going to pack up my Flower Power Afghan so that I can put it together. And I've chosen to put a spring green border on this Afghan. So I got my Super Savers ready to go, and I'm ready to crochet. Hi, it's a little bit breezy today on the picnic table, but we have our little rocks holding our Afghan in place. We've only laid out 4 diagonal rows, starting with this one here, to show you how to assemble it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. But the very first row only has 1 square. And so we're going to show you how to do this particular border, because this is not like a regular granny square. It has solid stitches along each edge. Now every single one of these squares has 19 stitches along each side plus 2 corner spaces. So we are going to start this border in the corner. We're going to pull up a loop in the corner and then chain 3. Pull our end through to be woven in later. That represents the first double crochet. Then we're going to do a second double crochet in that same space. And then a third double crochet in the very first stitch along that side. Now this is where it differs from the earlier rows. We're actually going to chain 1 and skip 1 and go into this one and make another double crochet. So in actuality, what we're going to do is blocks of 3 double crochets with a chain 1 in between. So this is our second double crochet, third double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, a double crochet in the very next stitch. One double crochet in each of those next 3 stitches to make a block. Chain 1, skip 1, and then 3 more double crochets in each, or 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1, skip 1. Then 1 double crochet in each of the next 3. Chain 1, skip 1, and then 1 double crochet in the last stitch along the side, but yet we have 2 more double crochets to do in the corner. So 1, 2. So that makes our side. Now I'm going to chain the 2 to form the space at the corner, but we're going to look at what we just completed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blocks of 3 double crochets each along the side with spaces in between. The spaces come in to play when we join adjacent motifs together. So all we're going to do on this beginning square is just do a work around all the outer edges back to here, the same way as we did before. So that's 2 double crochets in the space, 1 double crochet in the very first stitch of that side. That makes 3, chain 1, skip 1. Remember how I told you how making sure you had 19 along this side was extremely important? This is where it pays off, because then we have the exact number of stitches we need to form the 6 blocks on each side. So I just did my chain 1, skipped 1, first double crochet, second, third, chain 1, skip 1. And you'll see how simple, whoops, went into the wrong stitch. Can't talk and show you at the same time. So this is our third, chain 1, skip 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, skip 1, 1 into the last one of the side, and then 2 into the space. And that completes our 6th block of 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to join up to you when we get all the way around to this end. All right, we're in the last corner to complete this side. And so we just did our 2 double crochets in the corner, chain 2 to form the corner space, and we're going to slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. Now, I'm going to cut my yarn because this ends the first row. And it's just a 1 square row, and that's okay. I'm going to pull this through, and let's take a look at what we have. Isn't that a nice, bright, and cheerful square? Now, just for fun, I like to do a double check because our motif measured about 6 inches across, and now with this border, it's a little bit over 7, a 7¼ inches, which is perfect because what we want to do is we have planned it to be 5 motifs wide and 7 long, which gives us about a 35 by 49 inch base for the inner part of the afghan. And then we'll add borders on top of that afterwards. But isn't that nice? Now we're going to weave this end in before we move on. Now we are going to start our second row, which is diagonal row 2. And we're going to start in this corner here, work up along this edge, cross over to our next motif in this diagonal row, and work up along here, and then of course on the outer edge, come on down, and this is where we're going to do the joining here, and joining here, and then once again finish the outer edge. So you'll learn the basic techniques on this one. So let me get my yarn ready. It's blowing away in the wind, but that's okay. So I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to start the exact same way I did the first square. I'm going to chain 3 and drop off the end by pulling it through, and then I'm going to work 1 more double crochet into the space, and then 1 double crochet into the very first stitch. Now this part is going to be very familiar. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1. When we get to the first corner, it's going to be exactly like going around that first square. 3, chain 1, skip 1, and then 1 double crochet in the last stitch of the side, and then 2 double crochets in the corner. Oops. Now, we're going to chain 2, just like we were going to do a regular corner, but remember we have just done this part. We came along this side and this side. We're only going to do 2 sides on this square because now we're going to join and move on to the next square in this diagonal row. So we're going to work 2 double crochets in the corner space to start this side. We're going to work 1 double crochet in the next stitch to finish off that block of 3, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. And we're going to work this one just like we did this side. I'll meet up with you when we get over to here. Okay, so we have just worked around these 2 sides and then the outer edge of the last motif in this diagonal row. And so we're going to pick it up here. We're just approaching the corner. Let me get my stitches back on. Okay, and so we have 1 more double crochet to do in the corner. Chain 2, because we're now going to join this square to the original diagonal row. Instead of just working along this side, because we're going to do an outer edge corner join, we're going to take our loop off of our hook, go over to the corner that we're joining to, insert our hook from the front to the back, pick up that loop and pull the loop through the space. Then chain 2 to lock it down. The chain 2 gives it extra room, so you have enough room to come back to the original original square that you're working on. 1, and we're doing 2 double crochets in the corner space. Then 1 double crochet in the first stitch of the side, and now we're where we normally would do a chain 1 in a space. So we're going to take and align that with this corner, this side space over here, and pull the loop through the space, and then chain 1 more. Let's do that one again. So this chain 1 is over this skip space, so we skip 1, and we're going to do another block of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. We chain 1 to form the side space, but because we're joining it, we look to see where the adjacent side space is on the original row. We put our hook, we take our loop off of our hook, we put our hook through that adjacent side space, pick up the loop and pull the loop through the space, and then chain 1 to lock it in. Let's do it one more time. The chain 1 is over the skip 1. So we're skipping 1 and doing a double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches on this side. 3. We're going to chain 1 for the space, take the loop off of our hook, take our hook, put it in the adjacent side space of the original square that we're joining to, and pulling the loop through the space. Then we chain 1 more, which gives it enough space to lay out and make a very nice flat seam. Yarn over, skip this one, work a double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, take the loop off the hook, come over to the side space of the joining square, and pull the loop through the space and chain 1. We're going to skip this one and we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1, take the loop off the hook, insert it in the adjacent side space, pull the loop through the space, and chain 1 to lock it down. Skip 1, yarn over, and work a double crochet in the next and happens to be the last stitch on this side, but now we have to do 2 double crochets into the corner space to finish this side off. Now, at the corner space, we chain 2, 1, 2. But let's look at what we're doing. Until we have the 4th square coming into place, we're not going to finish off this corner. That'll be done on the next row. But instead, we're just going to move over and work into the corner space of the next square in this diagonal row. And then 1 double crochet in the very first stitch. Now we're at a side space, and this is an adjoining side again. Looking at what we have here, this side will join to this side. So we chain 1, take the loop off the hook, and find not the corner space, this is the corner space, but the adjacent side space. Put our hook through the front to the back and pull the loop through the hook through the space. Chain 1 to lock it down. And we're going to proceed along this edge just like we did before. We skip 1 and perfect. We do 1 double crochet in the last double crochet on this side, and then 2 into the corner space. 1, 2, and chain 2. But because this is an outer edge corner join, we are going to take the loop off the hook again, insert it through the corner space, loop through the space, and then chain 2 to lock it down. And then we just finish this side off in our regular fashion because there's no adjoining square. So we do 1, 2 double crochets into the corner space to start this new side, 1 double crochet into the very first stitch, chain 1, skip 1, beginning of the round, and pull our loop through. We are now finished with diagonal row 2. Now before we go on to row 3, you want to make sure these are woven in before we start joining round 3 to round 2. Just like we did round 2, we are ready to start round 3. And we're going to start in this corner, work up along these 2 sides of each of the squares, come around the outer corner, and then join here. The only thing that's different between round 3 or row 3 and row 2 is this special corner. So I'm going to continue to do this just like we have before, and when we get to here, I'll show you how to join. We're at the point where we're approaching the corner where all 4 corners join together. So I am going to work a double crochet in the last stitch of this side, and then 2 double crochets into the corner, and I'm going to chain 2 for the corner space. But just let's take a look at what we have. We have a completed corner over here, and we have 2 bars of chains between these 2 spaces from the last row. So what I'm going to do is I chained my 2. I'm going to take my loop off my hook. I'm going to insert my hook through the finished corner space under those 2 bars, and I'm going to pick up my loop and do a loop through the space. Now I am going to pull this up very tightly, and I'm going to chain my 2 to lock it down. Let's see what we have. So as you can see, we have a very nice corner. But let's work a few more. I come back to the corner and I do 2 double crochets into that space, and then I do 1 double crochet into the first stitch to start the side, and I chain 1, and because I'm joining this side to this one, I come over here to the adjacent corner. Let's recap what we learned on row 3. We started over here, came down here, came up, crossed over, came down here, crossed over here, came all the way around, and at this point we crossed over again because only 3 squares came together. When we got to here, we joined all 4 and finished that corner. And when we come down here, it'll just be another crossover just like this one here. So you know what to do. I want you to continue on with that. When you get to row 4, this is how our pieces are going to fall into place. The only thing that you have to consider is that when you reach the large flowers, some of the flower will actually need to be tacked down a little bit more when we're doing the border row, such as here. The other thing is that if you look at each of these squares, there's one side that has the petal coming up over in the middle. You don't want to align all of your flowers like that. I like to offset them so that the petal might be opposite it. So this one is going up this way, this one is coming down that way. That's the only consideration. It's just my personal preference because in nature, flowers are never identical. Okay, well, I'll see you when we have our afghan assembled, and then we'll be ready to do our final border. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please click my picture to subscribe. Happy crocheting!